Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Steve Harvey. I want to talk to you about something that a lot of women struggle with, but don't always say out loud. The title is simple. Men don't notice what you do for them. They value one thing only. Now, before you get mad at me, stay with me. I'm not saying men are ungrateful. I'm saying men are wired differently. And until you understand what truly moves a man, you're going to keep exhausting yourself doing things he barely registers. When I said men don't automatically measure love the way you do, I meant that in the most honest and practical way possible. A lot of women express love through action. You nurture, you anticipate needs, you give emotionally, physically, mentally, you think ahead. If he has a long day, you want to make it easier. If he's stressed, you want to comfort him. If he's building something, you want to support it. In your heart, all those actions scream, I love you. And because that's how you measure love, you assume he sees it the same way. But most men don't interpret those actions as the ultimate proof of love. They appreciate them. Yes, but appreciation and deep value are not the same thing. Men are wired to measure their worth differently. From a young age, a man is taught, directly or indirectly, that his value comes from performance. Can he win? Can he provide? Can he solve problems? Can he handle pressure? So when he steps into a relationship, he's not automatically scanning for how much you do for him. He's subconsciously asking himself one question: who am I when I'm with her? That internal question matters more than the external acts. You might cook for him every night, check on him throughout the day, handle things so he doesn't have to worry, and he may smile, say thank you, even enjoy it. But what determines how deeply he values you is whether he feels stronger, more capable, and more confident in your presence. If being around you makes him feel like he can conquer the world, you've tapped into something powerful. If being around you makes him feel inadequate, criticized, or constantly measured against a higher standard, he will slowly pull back, even if you're doing everything right. That's the disconnect. Women often think, if I just love him harder, he'll love me deeper. But for many men, love isn't measured by how much you do. It's measured by how you position him in your life emotionally. Do you see him as capable? Do you trust his decisions? Do you allow him space to lead in areas where he needs to feel strong? Because strength is tied to identity for most men. When that identity feels threatened, he doesn't interpret your actions as love, he interprets them as pressure. Another truth is this: men are not as detail-oriented emotionally as women. You remember the small things. He might not. That doesn't always mean he doesn't care. It means he prioritizes emotional experiences over emotional tasks. If the overall experience with you feels peaceful and empowering, he registers that. If it feels tense or demanding, he registers that too. But the specific things you did along the way may blur together. This is why some women feel exhausted. After everything I do, he doesn't even notice. He might notice, but he doesn't categorize it the same way you do. You see effort as love. He sees emotional impact as love. And if the emotional impact doesn't make him feel respected and significant, the effort alone won't carry the weight you expect it to. Understanding this changes everything. It shifts you from overperforming to being intentional. It helps you realize that constantly proving your love through service doesn't automatically increase your value. What increases your value is creating an environment where he feels like the best version of himself. That doesn't mean shrinking yourself. It means being aware that men respond more deeply to how they feel about themselves in your presence than to the checklist of what you've done. When you grasp that, you stop exhausting yourself trying to earn appreciation through endless action. Instead, you focus on emotional positioning. And that's where the real power lies. Let's talk about respect being the currency. Because this right here is where most relationships either grow strong or slowly fall apart. A man can feel loved and still walk away if he feels disrespected. That sounds harsh, but it's real. Love and respect are not the same in a man's heart. For many women, love covers a multitude of issues. If you love him, you believe you can work through almost anything. For a man, if he feels his respect is compromised, it touches something deeper than emotion. It hits identity. You have to understand that a man's identity is closely tied to how he sees himself in the world. His competence, his decisions, his ability to lead, provide, protect, and figure things out, those are not just tasks to him. They are proof of his manhood. So when he feels dismissed, corrected in a condescending way, compared to another man, or constantly reminded of where he falls short, it doesn't just irritate him. It weakens him internally. And a man does not stay long in a place where he feels weakened. Now, let me be clear. Respect is not about silence. It's not about agreeing with everything he says. It's not about lowering your standards or tolerating bad behavior. Respect is about how you communicate disagreement. It's about tone. It's about timing. It's about whether you're trying to solve a problem together or win a power struggle. You can challenge a man without humiliating him. You can express your needs without attacking his capability. The difference is intention and delivery. Public disrespect is especially damaging. When a man feels corrected or belittled in front of other people, friends, family, co-workers, it creates embarrassment. And embarrassment turns into resentment. Even if he doesn't say it immediately, it lingers. A man would rather you pull him aside privately than make him look small publicly. When he feels you protect his image instead of tearing it down, trust builds. Another part of respect is trust in his decision-making. Even if you disagree, there is a way to express your opinion without implying he's incompetent. If every decision he makes is second-guessed, overridden, or micromanaged, he starts to feel unnecessary. And when a man feels unnecessary, he detaches. Not always loudly, sometimes quietly. He becomes less expressive, less open, less invested. Men also interpret constant criticism as a lack of belief. If the majority of what he hears from you is what he's doing wrong, what he hasn't achieved yet, or what he should be doing better, he begins to feel like he's constantly failing in your eyes. And no one wants to live where they feel like a disappointment. Encouragement doesn't mean ignoring flaws. It means balancing correction with belief. It means letting him know you see his effort, not just his shortcomings. Respect also shows up in small everyday moments, letting him finish his thoughts, listening without interrupting, not mocking his ideas before they have room to breathe, acknowledging when he handles something well. Those small moments accumulate. They tell him whether he is safe with you or under evaluation. When a man feels respected, something shifts. He becomes more open, more generous, more willing to lead and invest. He wants to protect what makes him feel strong. Respect energizes him. Disrespect drains him. And the key is that what feels like harmless frustration to you can sometimes feel like deep disrespect to him. So when I say respect is the currency, I mean it's the foundation that makes love sustainable. Without it, affection fades under tension. With it, even difficult seasons can be navigated. A man who feels respected will fight for the relationship. A man who feels consistently disrespected will eventually stop fighting at all. When I say men value appreciation for who they are becoming, not just what they provide, I'm talking about something deeper than a thank you for paying a bill or fixing something around the house. Most men grow up with the understanding that their role is tied to provision and performance. If they work hard, earn money, solve problems, and handle responsibilities, they believe they are doing their job. So when you only acknowledge what they produce, you're speaking to the surface of who they are. But when you acknowledge who they are striving to become, you speak to their core. A man is usually in motion. He's building something, chasing something, trying to elevate something. Even if he hasn't reached the level he wants yet, internally he sees the vision. He feels the pressure of it every day. The pressure to earn more, to be stronger, to be wiser, to get it right. What many women don't see is that silent pressure. He may not talk about it. He may not show vulnerability about it, but it's there. And when you recognize the effort behind the progress, you tap into something powerful. If you only celebrate results, he feels evaluated. If you celebrate effort, he feels supported. There's a big difference. When you say, I see how hard you're working, even before the promotion comes, you're telling him that his grind matters. When you say, I'm proud of the man you're becoming, you're affirming his growth, not just his output. That kind of appreciation fuels him. It gives him energy to keep going. A lot of relationships fall into a pattern where appreciation becomes transactional. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for paying that. And while gratitude is important, it can unintentionally reduce him to his functions. He becomes the provider, the fixer, the problem solver, instead of a human being evolving in real time. When you show appreciation for his character, his discipline, his resilience, his consistency, he feels seen beyond his wallet or utility. Another truth is that many men rarely receive emotional affirmation from the world. Society doesn't usually stop and say, you're trying. Keep going. It says, produce, win, deliver. So when the woman in his life becomes the one place where he feels acknowledged for his growth, that place becomes sacred. He relaxes there. He opens up there. He invests there. Now let's be clear. Appreciation must be genuine. Men can sense forced praise. This isn't about inflating his ego. It's about recognizing real effort. If he's trying to communicate better, acknowledge it. If he's working long hours to build stability, recognize the sacrifice. If he's making small improvements in areas he used to struggle with, point it out. Growth often happens in inches, not miles. And when those inches go unnoticed, motivation slowly decreases. There's also something powerful about verbal affirmation. Many women assume he knows I appreciate him, but words matter. Simple, direct statements like, I believe in you, or I see how much you're carrying, land deeply. They reduce the loneliness many men feel in their responsibilities. They remind him he's not alone in the climb. When a man feels that you see not just where he stands, but where he's headed, he associates you with his future. You become part of the vision. And when you're part of his vision, he protects that connection. Appreciation for who he is becoming tells him you're not just attached to his success, you're invested in his journey. When I said stop over-functioning, I meant stop doing for a man what he should be doing for himself in the name of love. A lot of women believe that the more they give, the more secure the relationship becomes. So they anticipate every need, fix every problem, handle every responsibility, remind him of everything, plan everything, smooth over every conflict, and carry the emotional weight for both people. And at first, it feels noble, it feels supportive, it feels like you're proving your value. But over time, something dangerous happens. You remove his opportunity to invest. People value what they work for. That's not just about money. That's about emotional investment, effort, time, and responsibility. When a man has to show up, think, plan, protect, pursue, and contribute, he feels connected to what he's building. Effort creates attachment. But when you overfunction, you unintentionally rob him of that attachment. If everything is handled before he even gets a chance to step in, he slowly becomes passive. Overfunctioning often comes from fear. Fear that if you don't do it, it won't get done. Fear that if you don't hold everything together, it will fall apart. Fear that if you stop giving so much, he'll lose interest. But here's the truth. When you overgive, you create imbalance. And imbalance breeds complacency. A man who doesn't have to earn your time, your energy, or your presence may begin to take it for granted, not because he's evil, but because humans naturally adjust to what's consistently available without effort. There's also a psychological shift that happens. When you constantly solve his problems, remind him of his responsibilities, or step into roles he should carry, you move into a managerial position instead of a partnership. And most men don't feel romantic towards someone who feels like their supervisor. Attraction thrives when there's polarity, when both people are contributing in their strengths. If you are leading, organizing, pushing, correcting, and carrying everything, he doesn't feel the weight of leadership. And if he doesn't feel the weight, he won't feel the pride of it either. Another important part of this is boundaries. Overfunctioning often ignores boundaries. You might overextend yourself emotionally, financially, or physically to keep the relationship stable. But when you don't require him to meet you halfway, you teach him that halfway is optional. Standards are not about control, they're about self-respect. When you allow him space to step up, you communicate that you expect partnership, not dependency. Now, this doesn't mean stop being supportive. It means be supportive without becoming responsible for his growth. If he's capable of making a call, let him make it. If he's capable of planning a date, let him plan it. If he's capable of handling a problem, resist the urge to jump in immediately. Give him room to show up. Men often grow through responsibility. When you carry all of it, you delay that growth. And here's something else. Exhaustion is not attractive. When you are drained, overwhelmed, and resentful from doing too much, it shows. It changes your tone. It changes your energy. It creates frustration. Then you start saying, after everything I do for you, and now the giving feels like a weapon instead of a gift. Healthy giving feels voluntary, not transactional. When you step back just enough to allow him to lean forward, something shifts. He begins to feel needed in a healthy way. He feels capable. He feels invested. And when a man invests, he values. Overfunctioning may feel like love, but balanced contribution creates respect and long-term commitment. When I said men notice absence more than presence, I wasn't telling you to disappear, play games, or manipulate emotions. I'm talking about understanding human nature. Familiarity can sometimes reduce urgency. When something is constantly available, constantly accessible, constantly predictable, the mind stops registering it as something that could be lost. And when there's no perceived risk of loss, value can quietly decline. A lot of women make the relationship their entire world. They rearrange schedules, cancel plans, neglect friendships, slow down personal goals, and make themselves fully available at all times. Every call answered, every text immediate, every weekend reserved. In their heart, that level of availability feels like devotion. But what can happen over time is that he begins to assume you'll always be there, no matter how little effort he puts in. Not because he doesn't care, but because consistency without boundaries creates comfort, and too much comfort can reduce pursuit. Men are wired to pursue what feels meaningful and slightly uncertain. Not chaotic, not toxic, but valuable enough that losing it would matter. When your life revolves entirely around him, he doesn't feel that edge. He doesn't feel that he has to lean forward. He may still care about you, but the urgency softens. Absence creates reflection. When you're not immediately available, when you're focused on your goals, your passions, your growth, he has space to think about you, space to miss you, space to recognize your contribution to his life. Constant presence doesn't always allow for appreciation because there's no contrast. It's like background noise, always there, but not consciously noticed. This doesn't mean ignoring him to get attention. It means maintaining your individuality. When you continue building your life, your career, your friendships, your hobbies, your personal development, you send a message, I am with you because I choose to be, not because I have nothing else. Choice is powerful. Dependency feels heavy. Autonomy feels attractive. Another important piece of this is emotional independence. If your mood rises and falls entirely based on his attention, he feels pressure. If every delayed response becomes a conflict, if every busy moment becomes an argument, he associates you with stress instead of peace. But when you are emotionally steady, when you can enjoy your day, whether or not he's constantly engaging, he feels less pressure and more desire to connect. Men also pay attention when access changes. If you used to overextend yourself and now you're balanced, he notices the shift, not in a dramatic way, but in a subtle recalibration. He may reach out more. He may initiate more. He may start planning more. Why? Because the dynamic has adjusted. When something feels less guaranteed, effort increases. Absence also reveals truth. If you pull back slightly and he makes no effort at all, that tells you something important. It shows you the true level of his investment. Sometimes constant presence masks imbalance. When you're always the initiator, always the planner, always the pursuer, you can't clearly see whether he would step up if given space. And here's the key. Healthy absence is about self-respect, not strategy. It's about remembering that you had a full life before him and you should maintain one with him. The right man won't be threatened by your independence. He'll be inspired by it. He'll admire that you have your own rhythm, your own focus, your own identity. When a man has room to miss you, to think about you, to wonder what you're doing, you remain fresh in his mind. When he sees that your happiness doesn't depend solely on him, he values the access he has. Presence is powerful, but balanced absence reminds him that being in your life is a privilege, not an entitlement. When I say the one thing men value most is how you make them feel about themselves, I'm talking about the emotional mirror you hold up in the relationship. Every man, whether he admits it or not, is constantly evaluating himself. Am I enough? Am I winning? Am I respected? Am I capable? The world already challenges him daily. Work challenges him. Finances challenge him. Competition challenges him. Expectations challenge him. So when he comes into a relationship, he's not just looking for love, he's looking for how he feels when he's standing next to you. You can cook for him, support him, show up for him, and be loyal to him. All of that matters. But if deep down he feels small, criticized, doubted, or constantly measured in your presence, something inside him starts to shrink. A man will naturally gravitate toward environments where he feels strong and significant. Not because he wants ego strokes, but because strength is tied to his identity. When he feels capable around you, he relaxes. When he feels inadequate around you, he becomes defensive or distant. The truth is, men don't always articulate insecurity the way women do. They don't sit down and say, I don't feel emotionally validated. Instead, they pull back. They get quiet. They become less expressive. Or sometimes they become irritated. What you're seeing isn't always anger, it's wounded pride. And pride, when hurt repeatedly, creates emotional walls. Making a man feel significant doesn't mean worshiping him. It doesn't mean pretending he's perfect. It means acknowledging his strengths out loud. It means allowing him to contribute in meaningful ways. It means trusting him with responsibility instead of constantly double-checking his every move. When he feels trusted, he feels empowered. When he feels empowered, he invests more. Another important layer to this is belief. If a man senses that you truly believe in his potential, he connects that belief to you. You become associated with confidence. But if he feels like you're waiting for him to fail, waiting to say, I told you so, or silently doubting his decisions, he associates you with pressure. Over time, he may start seeking validation elsewhere. Not always romantically, but emotionally. Somewhere he feels affirmed instead of evaluated. There's also the tone of everyday interaction. Do you speak to him like a partner or like a subordinate? Do you ask for his help in a way that shows trust, or do you command? Do you acknowledge when he handles something well, or only speak up when something goes wrong? Small patterns shape big emotions. Over time, he builds an internal narrative about who he is in your life. And here's something powerful. When a man feels like a king in his own home, he will protect that kingdom. But if he feels like a constant disappointment, he may emotionally check out. Not because he doesn't care about you, but because staying in a space where he feels like he's failing is exhausting. Making him feel strong doesn't require you to shrink. You can be ambitious, intelligent, independent, and powerful. The key is balance. When two strong people come together and affirm each other's strengths, the relationship thrives. When strength turns into competition, tension grows. At the end of the day, a man remembers how he feels when he leaves your presence. Does he feel encouraged or criticized? Does he feel capable or corrected? Does he feel trusted or doubted? Those feelings determine his level of attachment. Because the woman who consistently makes him feel like the best version of himself becomes the place he never wants to lose.